Welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophia Pilot into the Universal Chinese. Let's continue unpacking classical China era's concepts. And in September, we're going to focus on Taoism thinking. And today we have Zhou, because yesterday we just talked about Yu, and Yu and Zhou often pair together to make the big concept universe. And as a language user, I always have Yu Zhou, see them together and never unpack and see what is Zhou, what's the difference, why we have to use the two characters to make Yu Zhou. So how Chinese view Yu Zhou. It turned out Yu is in terms of space. It talks about the boundary of our existence in terms of space, and Zhou is in terms of time. If Yu gives us a sense of the boundary of our existence, Zhou, this time is unbounded time. It talks about the infinity of time. And when we have Yu and Zhou paired together, space and time, that's Chinese translation. Wait, hold on. It's probably not actually a translation. We had this Yu Zhou already long time ago in our ancient writings already. And when the Western universe comes to us, I think like bingo, I guess that's like a perfect fit for each other. Except that when I'm thinking universe, this concept, it's more in a spatial sense. But if we think harder, what is universe? It is space plus time. There gotta be this four-dimensional way, right? Okay, so how Chinese express Aeon, this endless of time? We again use the same dome with a dot. That to me is shelter. And the language users, to popularize the language, to make this icon, this pictograph understood easily by other people. So they have to rely on shared living experience and abstract concepts like space or time. That's too abstract, right? So Chinese instead use something very concrete to create a concept. Just like it was used to use a part of our living space, which is the eaves, which is the outer boundary of our private space. That's basically the edge of your roof, right? And so we're using the beam of the roof. So it's always something up there. I guess Chinese like to, when it's a big, grand word, big concept, we look to the roof, just like a polar, the extreme, this concept. We use this very edge, highest point in the roof to express the extreme or the polar of things. So this Zhou is this long beam. And I mean, I just have a new thinking of why we use this long beam on your roof to mean endless of time. Because the beam came from the trees. And the trees, to grow that long beam, it takes time. And by the way, fun fact, I visited Brittle pine forest, and that's the longest living tree on Earth, which is nearly 5,000 years old. So those trees, long-standing living thing, once they become a log, become part of the our roof structure, I guess it's a reminder to us, because the longest unbroken, like a continuous beam, this log would be the oldest subject, things from nature. That's remind you of the endless of time, because that house may be passed down to generations, right? So humans' lifespan, okay, ancient times lifespan, it's even shorter, like 40 years, 50 years. versus like trees. The known currently, the record of longest living trees are almost 5,000 years. That's 100 times more. It's hard to fathom, right? So for us humans to scale up our sense of unbounded time, I think it's very appropriate to use the beam on your roof to remind you the longevity, the long living things, used to be former long living things from that tree that's in your household. So that household object, either the eaves to mean the boundary of your existence, spatial sense, or the beam to mean the time sense. Both these everyday objects, language creators adopt to demonstrate this abstract concept. So that's the meaning, composite meaning of that. That's the beam in your roof. But separately, how does that come from? They share this shelter image, but differ in the middle part. And this is you, that means come from, the origin of things. And this origin is made up of the farm field, which is a circle, almost look like a circle, but Chinese would express a big piece of land, just like a box in there, right? And stylized with this radius around the corners. And then we quarter it to mean it's allotted land. Ancient times, different households have different allotted lands. And that lotting act shows this as farmland, because that's I guess, ancient times, the majority of the population are farm hands. So everybody is our farmers back then. So this farmlands, lotted land, with this tiny little thing poking through that shows something, the crops, by logic, as the crops coming from that piece of farmland. And being able to track down where that plant or that crop came from. In today's world, that would be like a grocery, right? If you want to know exactly where that was produced, which farmland that came from, right? That's an easy, like commonly shared life experience back then to identify which farmland that comes from, to explain, I guess, the flavor of that plant. So this origin then made from this farmland, something coming from that farmland concept. And that origin paired with this dome is a good combination. Besides the beam, I signify time, that origin also give us the time, because what is origin? Is something happened before, not made who you are today. Is everything happened before. So by origin itself already, that's a concept related to time. So time, this origin concept paired with this root, that gives you the sense of what is origin. You can trace back almost to infinity, because whatever farmland you want to track the thing from, you can always push it even further, like what's before the farmland, right? Before the land, before the earth, before everything starts. You can track time and looking back to basically infinity. So that's Chinese origin, marking infinity there. All right. We have 宇宙 already talked about. Then we have 宇和. 和 means togetherness. And eons together is a Chinese fancy way to say wherever, whenever. Because eon means time, right? And when we have all the time, all the parallel universe put together, and that's like whatever situations, it's all possibilities together through all the space and time. Okay. 宙斯 is a Chinese way of translation to Zeus, Greek god. And you can tell 思 is a Chinese favorite word, phonetic translation of Zeus, the 思 sound. That's a Chinese 思 translation. But the 周, we use this grand infinity concept to pair with this immortal concept from the Greek mythology. I think that's very appropriate. And the first time I met this concept of 宙斯, I know it's a translation because it has the 斯. But then once I know it's about Zeus, about this Greek god, which is on the god hierarchy, the tip is kind of the king of all the gods. I'm kind of okay, that makes sense because Zhou means infinity. Like what's grander than infinity, right? So here to express time is really difficult. To express Aeon, like today we face the same challenge as the language creators, whoever create this concept, to pair the beam concept or the origin concept with this endless time, this infinity concept. We face the same. Like I cannot visually easily to display what is Aeon, except this beam of light. And first off, it's a beam, right? So we call back to our beam of log. And also this beam of light, the light somehow is associated to traveling of time. So I hope at least it evokes a little bit sense of Aeon for us. All right. Thank you for your time. See you another day.